Welcome to the fifth episode of Hire Me If You Can. I'm your host, Bruno Flutsch, Marketing Manager at CareerFairy. My guest today is Priscilla Valavičius, Talent Acquisition Specialist at CERN. As a top HR voice, she provides insights into her work as a recruiter and employer branding specialist on LinkedIn. In this episode, Priscilla shares practical experiences on how they attract young talent at CERN. Enjoy listening. Priscilla, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much, Bruno. I'm glad to be here.
Well, in this episode, we will discuss how to reach new young talent. This means attracting those who don't initially consider your company when searching for a position. And to structure this discussion, we will dive into the following three phases. I really like the phases for some reason. And so the first phase would be, which new Gen Z target audience do you want to attract, and what's the struggle regarding that? And then in the second phase, which channels and KPIs do you define to reach them? Because once you know who you want to target, it's also about how to reach them. And then lastly, we will discuss best practices for these phases, since you have a lot of experience in that. Now, diving into the first phase, which new Gen Z target audience do you want to attract? I have to say something. I remember CERN from school, actually elementary school, because CERN is famous for being the birthplace of the World Wide Web and the operator of the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. So in short, your brand is famous. So attracting talent must be a piece of cake for you. So still, I would ask you, which target group do you struggle to attract and why?
Great introduction, and I'm glad you remember your, the learnings from elementary school. But yeah, so at CERN, we are famous worldwide for the reasons you described. And what it means for us is that we don't struggle recruiting physicists, but to go through direct to your question, who we struggle to recruit, and especially early in the careers, those are mainly the technicians. So actually, less than 3% of the CERN members of personnel are actually particle physicists. Everyone around, everybody else, they are supporting those physicists. And this includes the technicians. Majoritarily, they are mechanical and electrical technicians. And also, even students to come for internships, if they are studying towards a STEM field, but not physics necessarily, they also, they won't consider CERN like that. To start with, CERN is a public funded organization. It means that we don't have the money that private companies have to be everywhere all the time and have this sort of multiple entry channels in marketing for a student. Oh, I can see, this company here in the outdoor. I don't know if they do outdoors in a lot of places anymore, but then they scroll down. Oh, it's CERN. Then oh, is that company? Then they see a magazine. Oh, is that? They are everywhere in all the different career fairs and magazines and job boards. CERN is not like that. So we really have to be extremely strategic with the limited amount of money that we have for that. So and there's another thing as well. Because CERN is so famous for kind of groundbreaking discoveries, it also puts people, how can I say, it also makes people hesitant to even consider CERN, or even if they are a brilliant mechanical technician coming out of vocational school, a vocational education. Even if they know CERN, they'll think there's not a place for me there. I mean, surely they want the brightest minds of our time, and they want people with a PhD in particle physics, if not 2 or 3 PhDs and many postdocs. And that was something that was actually, CERN is branded since 1954 as a place for the greatest minds, for the outliers out there in the scientific community. But when it comes to recruiters like myself, when we actually have to hire the people that we need to continue building, developing the machining, maintaining the machining and the operation, we struggle because people would think they won't come as their first choice as an employer, as the employer of choice. We will need to, in most cases, go go to this place, go to the schools, and other channels as well, to explain, hey, there's a place for you at CERN. So long answer short, we struggle to recruit technicians and students from engineering fields as well.
That's such an interesting point because usually we would think, right, employer branding specialists, we want to be famous, we want to be top of mind, but would not necessarily think about, hey, what if we are top of mind, but people are too scared to apply? And so this actually reminds me of we had an event I didn't tell you yet about, but I think this ties perfectly into that. And we had an event with where a student from ETH in Zurich, which is one of the best technical schools in Europe for those that don't know, and he talked about his fear of applying because he felt like he needed to be perfect, and when he applies it needs to be top of the top, right? And so it seems like this ties into what you say as well, that people don't apply because they're too scared to apply because they feel like they don't measure up. There might also be an imposter syndrome. So let's dive then into, let's say, the first struggle before we dive into channels. I would be curious. The first struggle, which is that technicians don't realize that they can work for you. What has been your approach so far to change that perspective of you?
Yeah. So the perception that technicians are not a good fit for CERN, it's out there. And how do we tackle? First and foremost, our employer branding team and slash recruitment marketing team that sits in talent acquisition, we understand that we need to be approachable no matter what we do. If we go to career fairs, or if we are what is called direct sourcing candidates on different platforms, including LinkedIn, or if we are in a particular networking event and there is the target group of technicians, if we're talking to schools, that we cannot come with the same pitch that we would hire a theoretical physicist. At the same time, for technicians, what I realized is that even at CERN, even in the recruitment team, they needed to have a lot of upskilling, shall I say, to understand that it's true that yes, we hire technicians, but the technicians that we hire at CERN are coming from very good technical schools and vocational schools, technical colleges. So there is always, when I go even to kind of sourcing recruitment events, and it's about like there is this presentations about how to hire blue collar workers. They meant this. And sometimes when I mention, oh, we struggle to hire technicians, what is the tip that I sometimes ask the greatest influencers in the recruitment and sourcing segment in Europe, and they say, they are not on LinkedIn. They are on LinkedIn. The ones we recruit, they are on. So we didn't used to source for them there, but I started in 2019, and it brought us great technicians that later on moved status after these initial 3 years of the early careers technician program that we have at CERN. So the thirst is kind of challenge this knowledge that technicians are not motivated, or technicians are not very skilled, or they don't want to leave their cities. I mean, we find the same challenges about, do you want to relocate? Yes or no? No matter if it is a technician from a technical vocational qualification, no matter if it's a graduate or if it's an experienced professional, we're going to find this common like reasons for not joining CERN. But yes, that it's true that for those that are technicians, and it is a matter of knowing how to reach them.
What you touched upon is actually something interesting regarding, technicians are not on LinkedIn, because my perception, to be really open, was that business students are more on LinkedIn. than the STEM students. However, what you suggest might be that those that are on LinkedIn and have a technical background, the technicians, they really want to have a career, and they want to put themselves out there. So they already signal a certain attitude, which stands out. What I would curious, we talked last time about direct sourcing, and there you talked about when you approach people on LinkedIn, they don't necessarily believe you. Could you dive into that story? I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, it happens so often, and I try to um, tailor my message over and over again because usually people think that it's a scam, that I'm a fake profile, or that is simply not true. So I am ignored a lot. I think our kind of response rate is probably lower than many other very non-strong like companies, because they would think, if they know CERN, they'll think there's no way that CERN would need a recruiter to approach like me as a student to come for an internship. And in reality, that I didn't mention is that CERN is funded by member states and associate member states. And because we are located in Switzerland and France in the border, yeah, in this region here, like very close, like in Geneva and villages around it, people kind of know CERN if they're doing a technical level course or a university. So we don't struggle. But we do struggle in many other countries to recruit. So that's why the effort of LinkedIn comes, because we cannot just have, 200 interns per year, 250 coming from 2, 3, 4, 5 countries. So we really need to be as diverse as possible to represent our member states and associate member states. So yes, it's so I started to put the sentence like, please note this is not a scam. I am a real profile, and actually, like, you can apply directly. You don't even have to kind of notify me. This is true. Believe it, and then it triggers people to actually explore a little bit further. But we do have this issue, I guess.
But that's I find that very intriguing. I know it's a struggle for you, but it's very intriguing because one might not think of that. So to attract these talents that are beyond the normal target group, so in your case that are non-physicists, it's important to be approachable. When we dive into the other struggle that they have, that they're hesitant to register, and maybe we dive into the topic of people maybe have a fear of applying because of imposter syndrome, which a lot of brilliant people, I think, have more than one might think. Um, how do you help technicians understand that they should apply?
So I just want to start with an experience that I had. It's not technicians, but you see the difficulty and struggles that we have. So about a few years ago, I participated in a career event in Munich to attract women. So it was a women-focused event, women in STEM. We were there at the booth. CERN has our booth, and we go always two people there. And so I usually, when I go to a career event, I have to stand a little bit further than our stand, just because if people glance and know CERN, they'll just, and if they are, even if they are a STEM student, they might pass because they'll say, okay, CERN, like, it's not for me. So I'm always a bit in the corridor trying to approach people, and this girl was standing there, and I could see her. She was looking at, our roller up, saying, "Hi, CERN." And I was like, "Are you like, hi? How you doing?" And then she was kind of hesitant to give even a step forward. I was like, "Are you okay? Like, do you know CERN?" And then she had a CV in her hand, and she said, "Yeah, yeah, I know CERN. I mean, you guys are incredible." Okay, so are you looking to relocate? What are you looking for in this fair? And then she explained to me she was looking for a early graduate position. Okay, what do you study? She had two master's degree, in one in aerospace engineering, the other one in mechanical engineering, one from I forgot that it was a very prestigious US university and the other one was in France. And I was like, but you are an engineer and you have two master's degree in like two engineering fields. Oh yeah, but I wouldn't think that's I'll be suitable for CERN. So if we have this level of people being hesitant to apply, we would have in the less known programs and kind of jobs we hire people to. So for the technicians, one thing that we have to do to pitch first, I always mention I have to be approachable. Once we try, there was a feedback we participated in Scandinavia to one of our one some people at CERN attended a school to give a pitch about CERN and the opportunities for early stage technicians. And the feedback we had is that, oh, they were all in suits. And I was thinking, like, there's so many things we have to be consciential about. Is already CERN. Come three guys in suit. Uh, it's not gonna happen. So the what I try to project is a persona that is, yeah, it is very approachable. CERN has the main communication team focus on scientific communication. Yes, there is a bit more strict, is more formal, and we still have to comply for our employer branding communication, comply to the tone of voice of CERN and to different uh, um, rules, but we have to become more approachable to target the other less known like vacancies that we advertise for.
But that's such an incredible story about. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems like she had very strong imposter syndrome and a lot of fear from applying to CERN, even though she seemed very she seemed to be right on target with the level of degrees she has and mastery. I'd be curious, what was your biggest takeaway from this conversation with this female STEM student in Munich?
The biggest takeaway is always how can we kind of think about the branding in a way that it's not it doesn't always emphasize and reinforce how inaccessible CERN is, how CERN is for the elite universities, how you have to be the biggest, like the best student in your class in terms of grades, how you had to have done 5 internships before landing an internship at CERN. I'm always trying to project that we need to become more of use a more common language with the audience. Yes, the target audience for, again, as I mentioned, for the main communication team at CERN, which is science communication, is teachers, professors, is people from the scientific community. But candidates and students they are also part of one of our target audience, and we will have to kind of adjust the language sometimes, and I guess that because the engineers here and physicists that are at CERN for 20 or 30 years, they want to evoke and they want to be vocal about how prestigious the organization is. And it is very prestigious. And yes, we have very clever people here. Some won Nobel Prizes. But also, it is a place that you don't have to be the best of the best of the best, and that we hire a diverse diverse range of wide range of disciplines, I guess, in different times of your life, like in your career path. So everyone can come to CERN and add to our culture and to our organization.
And this, I think, dives perfectly into the second phase of which channels and KPIs do you define to reach them? Because you have now elaborated on who you struggle to reach and why, and what your goal is to be more approachable. Because it's obviously, your brand is very known to be prestigious, but how can you now make it more approachable? So I would be curious. You dove into career fairs where you talk to people directly, and it's obviously very effective to show that you're approachable because I mean, you mentioned it. You actually really approach people right away, so that they're not too scared. Now, are there other, or which other channels do you use to to really portray that you are approachable and not just prestigious?
It's still a challenge, right? Because there is still, of course, the main communication team and our team to say, okay, how can we, even people in HR, the human resources, that feels like, yeah, but CERN, it is really prestigious. It is for the best. So we receive 100,000 applications per year. And this is what I want to mention to people. It's like, yeah, but it's not going to help us as a recruiter. So what do we, because we still struggle in a lot of positions. So what do? We advertise in, we're still using job boards actually to this day and age, but we try, we don't really advertise all the vacancies in every single job board that we partner with. So for LinkedIn, used to be only experienced professionals positions, and we changed that because I mean the LinkedIn population is getting younger and younger. And actually, I think I saw the most, like the top one kind of level that they people can put in your profile, I think was actually, it's not early entrance, but it's kind of mid-career. So, but it might be someone that just graduated in the last 2 years. So we advertise on LinkedIn. We advertise in different countries. Their kind of most successful platform sometimes is a job board. Sometimes it's actually like the eBay equivalent that is still predominant in that particular country. That it's, yeah, a platform that people go to buy cars, to sell their houses, but sometimes they also go to check vacancies. Is actually interesting. So we really need, it's not like one size fits all, depends on the role and depends on the country. Apart from job boards, we direct approach candidates as well on LinkedIn. We take part in career fairs. We run webinars. Um, our own people go to their universities to talk about their experience via testimonials. We still do printed magazines, but these are more kind of physics related, or actually even booklets for that distributes in a particular country in all their universities, a mini booklet for graduates, for people that are about to graduate. So we yeah, it's quite diverse, I guess, our approach and channels we use.
Hmm. I think for our customers, it might be particularly interesting what you do in the webinar space because your case is very specific in a sense that you already are famous, so it's about becoming more approachable with, for example, webinars. What have you learned so far when it comes to the content for the webinar? So the participants, meaning the speakers, what have you learned so far helps to make CERN more approachable?
It's good to always bring someone from CERN, but from a technical field, to take 5 or 10 minutes to talk about their experience and their journey. So what led them to CERN, how they experienced the recruitment process, how they were assigned to a particular team, and to which project they were assigned to, and what they actually do. So realize that no, it cannot just be my advice, just the recruitment team, like a recruiter, to go and say, this is the company, this is what we offer. The testimonial, it's such a strong element, and it also is stronger even depending on the country. So for example, we have to recruit a lot of people from Norway, from Denmark, from Sweden, and kind of they would feel safer to kind of have someone that they could relate to, that this person took this path and it seems to be working well and the person is enjoying, and this is a project, and is the kind of, I know this university, or is my university, I'm going to actually approach this person after the webinar, and I think I'm going to apply. But if it is just the recruiter, they might not project themselves in that position. This is what I observe. But in some countries, it doesn't matter. You just put like a link, apply to CERN, and people would apply. It really varies. So testimonial is really good. Also, to talk about what the application process looks like. We didn't used to have this part of the presentation there in our standard webinar. And then there was so many questions about, okay, but what is the, how does it look like? And the truth is, for CERN, for internships, the recruitment process takes time, and it's best to be transparent at first. You're going to apply. The job sometimes it follows a selection committee for internships, so you might be waiting for 2-3 months to hear from us, and there might be an interview with online interview with dedicated teams that might be interested in your profile. You hear after the selection committee. It might take 1 or 2 months after your interview. So if it's upfront, they will just know what to expect. I think these are the main two kind of tips that I'll give for a webinar.
And I would really like to follow up on what you said regarding the difference between countries, especially for companies that are international. Let's say in our case, we also do live streams with a World Bank, and I always assume it must be really hard to tailor to all the different countries. And the first thing to do that would be to understand how the different countries vary. So I would be curious, what have you learned so far in what are the incentives that the different countries care about?
So yeah, this is a good question. So localization kind of knowledge is important in recruitment. And what I mentioned before, what was important for Norway and is the same for Sweden, because these are actually the two countries that I focus for mainly for sourcing and for outreach activities. And what I know there is that they want to feel that they are applying for something that is real and safe, that another person has been there before. So this is very important. But what they are looking for, what drives them to apply to CERN? Number one element, is the quality of life and what they're going to be doing in the area. So it's so funny. You show that there is a possibility to do skiing all around the area and snowboarding, and that there are a lot of CERN clubs after your CERN kind of daily work. We have hundreds of clubs here. You can do the ski club, or you can join a band, or join the board game club, or Zumba, or there's so many. Fencing. And they would say, okay, it's actually a cool place, and I know CERN. And I know someone that applied to CERN, and I'm gonna apply. So this is cool. Whereas if we are approaching someone from the UK, for example, CERN is a very known brand in the UK and really respected. I don't know what they do there in terms of the media, but it's really well known. Yeah, and every now and then, there's always a lot of reporting on our activities in there. So when we go to a career fair in the UK, there is a huge queue of students, and they do apply. And why they apply is because they known from since their school about how cool is CERN. So they want to come here for it's an amazing place to work. So it's more about the organization, And then, of course, if you go to south of Europe, they know is how prestigious is CERN. So they no, I'm going to work with the best of the best. And they have a great benefit package. So it depends in the sense that also we don't even have to promote in a lot of countries, because they would already know, oh, it's such a great benefit and it's such a prestigious place. I want to work there. But some others, as I mentioned, like in the north, it's like, I'm not sure. Oh, you have ski. Oh, you have snowboard. Oh, you have a CERN club. Oh, okay. So you have to kind of convince, and present CERN as an employer of choice.
I think by now, maybe some early talent experts have turned off the podcast because they're so jealous of how famous your brand is in all the countries. But I would be curious. A lot of the companies we work with also are particularly focused on Germany and Switzerland. So I would also be curious, do you also have a take on the differences on how to attract talent in Germany versus in Switzerland?
In Germany, we have to do a lot of efforts to attract people from Germany, even though it's a bordering country, but it is really hard, because usually we see that people don't want to relocate out of their towns and cities when we approach them, even at the early stages. In Germany, what we have to do is, when we advertise a vacancy, we have to advertise in German. The recruiter that is dedicated to outreach in Germany, she is German, and because of the appreciation of hearing from a German, a German recruiter, we go to a lot of a lot of career fairs. We do a lot of webinars, but it's a bit more. I think the candidates are a bit more skeptical, and they want straight to. It's almost the German way. They want to know, okay, but how much? Yeah, what is the benefits? What every single detail needs to be explained for them to then consider applying. So there's a lot of work in there. And for Switzerland, we actually don't struggle to recruit, Swiss candidates. So I don't have a wide knowledge of the Swiss market. Not everybody in Switzerland wants to come to CERN actually. But they do apply, and those that apply are, yeah, they join the organization, especially if they are from the Swiss Romandie, because they want to come here to do the internships, especially if they are doing a tech like this CFC, so the technician qualification. They have the opportunities to come here. So it's not actually a country that we have to focus on how to recruit people from. But Germany is different.
So in Germany, the German way is really to focus on the details and also convince them, and that's the hard part, to relocate to Switzerland. You notice that is harder. So since we're approaching the end, I would have one last question regarding attracting a female STEM talent. So I think you touched upon it. Like you need to be approachable. You need to have probably also female STEM talent, for example, in a webinar or in a career fair. Is there maybe a third factor you noticed has a big impact on whether female STEM talent applies to you or not?
Yeah. So for women in STEM, young girls and experienced professionals, what it's the work is not just how to approach them on LinkedIn, but also, like, and this was a project that was done in November, how to have more actual content about women working at CERN. So we did a photo shooting with a lot of women in STEM here, and their daily work in the clean room or in the warehouse or in their computers, and like what are the professions that they do here. So young girls can project themselves. Okay, there are more women at CERN. I won't feel so isolated. The truth is, yeah, majority, like, we are still the minority. Women in STEM here, it's still the minority. So, but it's about, there is a supporting structure at CERN. For example, there is the Women in Technology Network that is focusing on not only promoting CERN as an employer of choice, but also making sure that we do the changes internally as well. So the experience when you become, an employee are also inclusive. So it's not just to show photos everywhere of women and then coming here and you're going to work with 5 guys in your team. So it's being realistic that this is a work in progress. But the success factors is attending dedicated career fairs for women, being approachable, but also making sure that even in the job descriptions, that for example, if there is 5 mandatory criteria there and 10 that are desirable, I have to go to the hiring manager and say, do you actually want this STEM? Because we know by now, everyone knows by now, that women are less likely to apply for roles that they don't see 100% themselves seeing, like they don't have 100% of the required skills. Even if they are desirable, they won't apply. And personally, I don't think that the answer is, oh, apply anyway. But the answer is, let's actually tailor this job description, so women feel that they can, that they could apply. So it's a lot of work internally and externally to project CERN as a place that they will feel included, but still is progress that we are making daily. But also, this other external, about reaching out to them and projecting photos, videos about what women do here. Like, they do what guys do, but sometimes we need the role model.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, for all these valuable insights. I found this conversation very inspiring. And I would like to give the listeners the opportunity to learn more about your insights. So, my question to you is, where can the listeners reach out to you or connect and learn more about your insights?
Sure. I would love for those of you who found this conversation interesting to connect with me on LinkedIn. Priscilla, my last name is Lithuanian, it's a bit complicated, but if you put Priscilla Talent Acquisition CERN, you will find me there on LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's Priscilla Valavičius is a Lithuanian last name. So please connect, and it will be great to hear your feedback on this episode.
Dear early talent experts, thank you so much for tuning in for this special episode with Priscilla. I believe you can take a lot of valuable insights for reaching new Gen Z talent. So I wish you all the best and hopefully see you soon. Bye.